Millions of Americans are honoring the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. today. The civil rights leader would have celebrated his 93rd birthday. His family led a march across the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge in the nation's capital in his memory. King's son, Martin Luther King III, says they will spend the day fighting for voters' rights. They are demanding Congress act to pass legislation to protect voters at the ballot box. But moderate Democratic Senators Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are against changing the filibuster rules, which would allow voting rights legislation to pass. And Democrats need those votes. Dr. King's daughter-in-law, Andrea Waters King, spoke to my colleague Nicole Killian about Sinema's remarks on the filibuster.
Filibuster has been used for over 100 years as it's a Jim Crow relic. It is not the vegetable of peace and freedom of which the banner of which she defined it as. If you look at the filibuster, it was used to block anti-slavery legislation. It was used to block anti-lynching legislation. It was used to block civil rights legislation. It was used last year just to block voting rights debate. So how can the filibuster be seen as a procedure that is a light for freedom, peace, and justice?
So for more on this, I want to bring in Nsé Ufot, CEO of the New Georgia Project, a nonpartisan effort to register new voters and get them engaged in the democratic process. Nsé, welcome. Great to have you with us. So members of Dr. King's family are pushing for, quote, no celebration without legislation and a day on, not a day off. So what more do voting rights activists believe the Biden administration needs to do to push voting rights forward?
I think that now is the time that we need to see the Biden administration leverage every resource available to it to make sure that we get federal protections for voting rights. There needs to be a federal floor for how elections are conducted in our country. We have witnessed nearly over 400 anti-voting, anti-democratic bills introduced in 49 out of our 50 states. They passed in 19 states. This is an urgent matter. There is no domestic policy item that is more important than securing the right to vote. And so as we commemorate the holiday, the life and the work of Martin Luther King, I think that we need to continue to have these conversations. And there absolutely needs to be a vote. You mentioned earlier, Manchin and Sinema. There's rumors that they aren't the only Democratic senators that are in opposition to rules change. And so we need to see where the chips fall. We need to count noses. The president needs to know who's with his agenda and who's on the side of Americans and American democracy and who's not. We can't have a plan going forward if we don't know who the players are on the field.
So, and tell us why this is so urgent. What are the deadlines looking forward that you have your eye on? And is it already too little too late?
Well, I'd like to say that it's never too late to do the right thing, right? And this issue is so urgent. I mean, we're talking about our governor in Georgia just signed an awfully gerrymandered map into law that will bind our hands for the next decade or more if we aren't able to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, which creates tools for states to, for the people to invalidate these gerrymandered maps, to bring about nonpartisan, independent redistricting commissions. There's so much there are so many ways that our elections are currently being attacked in states across the country. And again, it's not just Georgia. It's not just the Deep South. It's not just red states. We're talking about New Hampshire. We're talking about Wisconsin, North Carolina, all in 2022 with new attacks on their voting. So we're talking about these maps that are being signed into law right now and being certified, but we're also talking about the November midterms. And Georgia Republicans have given themselves the tools to invalidate the results of an election that they don't like. If that happens in one state, let alone 19, we could get to the end of the year and not have a Congress. This is serious, and it needs to be, we need to approach it as if it has the potential to destabilize our nation, because it absolutely does.
So you talk a little bit about the big states in Georgia, the big stakes rather in Georgia and other states right now. What are you seeing there on the ground in your state in terms of, energizing voters, getting more voters registered? What are you particularly doing in your organization?
Well, one, I absolutely agree with our president when he came to Atlanta last week and said he's tired of being quiet, right? And so when you think about the organizing that we do and the interventions that we're making, we're absolutely registering young people and new Americans to vote. We absolutely, we have some sexy races in Georgia this year, from governor to United States Senate. There's an opportunity also to flip our legislature. We still don't have Medicaid expansion in Georgia, and we're in a crisis moment. There are 12 hospitals in rural Georgia that have closed or are preparing to close because of the failure for Medicaid expansion. So Georgia voters have a clarity about what it is that they want in this moment. They have an agenda, and the right to vote, because it is preservative of all of our other rights, is at the top of that agenda. And so we're going to continue to have these millions of high quality conversations. It's phone calls, it's text messages, and it's putting feet in the street if necessary.
So circling it back around to Martin Luther King Jr., whose legacy we celebrate today, he wrote in his letter from the Birmingham jail, quote, "The great stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the white citizens counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice." So where do you see those words of Martin Luther King Jr. playing out right now? And what does it mean for the country if Congress can't get voting rights passed?
I think that those words are playing out in every state house in our country and in our Congress. And it is leading to, again, a potential destabilization of our nation, that we are witnessing these massive attacks on our elections. And I think that there are moderates who think that because it's happening to Black voters, or that they are the most sort of visible victims of these attacks on our democracy, that it's just a racial justice issue. And it is not. It is the ability to self-govern, the ability to choose our leaders who are accountable to our communities and who will go to Washington, D.C. or go to your state capitol and do the people's work is critical. It's absolutely important. And so white moderates who are saying that they are in favor of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and are in favor of the Freedom to Vote Act, but refuse to vote on a rules change, are not friends, are not allies at all. And that is the most dangerous, most pernicious part of what we're fighting right now. People who say that they are aligned, people who say that they are working on this issue, but in fact, they are not. And what we need right now is for the rhetoric to match the reality of the effort that we are seeing from our congressional leaders.
And are there particular lawmakers you'd like to call out on that point?
I mean, I think I've done it before, but I will do it again. We're talking about Senators Manchin. We're talking about Senator Sinema. We're talking about the entire Republican Party, right? That there is not one single senator in the United States Senate that has decided that they want to align themselves with the American people, that they want to be patriots. That what we're seeing, these anti-voting bills are a continuation of the big lie. They are a continuation of the January 6th attacks. And it breaks my heart to know that, there are folks who are still seeking bipartisanship as if it is a goal in and of itself that has taken much more of a priority than preserving and protecting American democracy itself. So, listen, I understand that Willard Mitt Romney, who has condemned the January 6th insurrectionists, is now, not willing to move forward on the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And those positions seem incongruous to me. And so there are several. Again, this is a crisis moment. This is an attack on the sacred and fundamental right to vote and our ability to self-govern. And your silence in this moment is a betrayal of the American people. And like our president, I am tired of being quiet about it.
Nsé Ufot, thank you so much. We appreciate your perspective.
Thank you.